All right, all right. We are back at Grit Won't Quit today. We're at our third real estate podcast, the last one for the spring season. But I thought it was important. And the reason I did is because these guys are part of a great networking group that's pretty new to the Jersey Shore area. It's called Coastal Connections. And a couple of the guys that run Coastal Connections have been on the podcast as guests. You had Abdel from Got Mortgages, and you got Chris from Chicago Title. And they started this networking group as a way to get people together and really try to promote businesses within. So this group of five professionals all came from the same networking group, Coastal Connections of Toms River. They meet on Thursdays. They said to me, we're going to have a meeting, and why don't we do a podcast? And initially they said we're going to go to Toms River, but then they came to Belmar, which was nicer. So let's go around the horn. We'll introduce everybody, and then we'll start talking about the spring market on the Jersey Shore, talk about Coastal Connections and how they're doing business together. And I know that there's deals that they've made together, which is really, when you think about growing your business, you got to grow with other people. You can't do it alone. And I think we're going to get into that today with some exciting, with these guys, they're real professionals. We have Sal from Sal Fiore Realtor, ERA American Town. We have Joe Galamis from Galamis Insurance Agency. We have Jay from Absolute Home Mortgage. We have Linda from Kelly Title Group. And last but not least, we have Billy from Easy Sell. So welcome, guys.
What's going on, bro?
Thank you.
Billy and I both are Long Island natives, for anyone that was wondering. So that's why we took the ends, because we both over talk.
Right.
So that's part of being from Long Island.
My arms aren't long enough to smack you.
There you go. So Jay, I believe you are the man of the Toms River chapter.
That is correct.
You hold the crown.
That's
correct.
correct.
Tell us kind of how you got all these guys together, how you're doing business together, and again, being in the real estate business.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, Chris Lynch approached me, when we got involved with a networking group that was a little bit further north, opening up Monmouth and Ocean County chapters. Obviously, all of us business professionals know that networking is an essential key to our success. So I believe the five ladies and gentlemen here have embodied that. They're bringing that networking spirit to our group, and it's basically an easy referral system. They make it easy to work with, and they're engaged and active with not just their own businesses, but referring as well. So we've had several deals. I know Sal and I did some deals together already. Billy as an investor, he'll talk about his part, but can utilize all of us. So it's been really awesome seeing this come to fruition and grow so far.
Before you were involved with the group, did you and Sal ever do business together prior?
We didn't. No,
Did you know each other?
I knew of Sal.
Okay.
We didn't know each other. No.
He friended me on social media.
Sal,
you too?
Sal, I would expect
Like a while
nothing
ago,
less.
like before the Coastal Connections, whatever, before the networking stuff, I was like, who is this guy? And then I met him, and the rest is history.
You're still working together, huh?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So,
He's my vice president in Toms River. So if that says anything about Sal's character.
Yeah.
how big is the Toms River group? When did it start? The Coastal Connections.
Our Toms River chapter was virtual. It launched in person in mid-December.
Okay.
So now we are up to about 13 members. We had 2 guests today. We're looking at 4 new applications that came in overnight. So
That's great.
We're steadily growing every week with every post and stuff like this that goes out. It's really nice to see.
I referred 2 guys to your group. Hopefully they join. I think one guy is going to actually wait till Forked River, but I referred him to you guys. But I think he's going to end up waiting until Coastal starts in Forked River. And the other guy told me he wanted to come to one of your meetings. So I don't know if Joe Carfagno from Carfagno Painting has been a guest yet, but he is interested in joining your group.
I've seen him around.
I talked to him Tuesday. Yeah,
I was
I
gonna say
got his card, as a matter of fact.
So
Yeah,
he
great
told
guy.
me he was interested. I had introduced him and linked him up with Chris a couple weeks back. So it's a good solid
That's
lead.
great. I'll follow.
And he's a Toms River. He's from that area. He's from Beechwood. So it'll be
Perfect.
good for you guys.
Great. Appreciate that.
Yep. It's my job.
Connecting people.
Connecting people through a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Joe wants to get on the podcast. We'll have him on soon.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. So now you guys start in December. You start rolling. Then you go so. You have 13 members. Now, what are some of the other trades that are in this besides the 5 real estate professionals?
So we have, Joe actually in our Toms River group is the life insurance agent, the seat. We have a lawn care turf company. We have a pest management company. We have a business trainer, a personal coach.
Oh, cool.
So it's really open to anyone. I'm looking to get some barbers or, salon haircutters in there as well, nail salons, printers. We're looking to get some CPAs or real estate attorneys out there. So anyone that's looking.
Anybody that's listening. So a perfect, in an ideal world, what size is that group? 25, 30?
At
50?
least 25, I'd say.
Okay.
We like to
So you're
get
halfway
even
home.
bigger.
Yeah.
We're really trying to make a splash at the Jersey Shore, coastal connections.
Good one, good one.
So we obviously don't want chapters on top of each other, but as you start spreading out to businesses like that, it may overlap into different areas. So
And is it one one person per industry, like one
Correct.
realtor?
Yes, yeah.
So there's some exclusivity, so that perfect. That's great.
yeah,
Sal's got the market locked down in the real estate.
Yeah, we
sector.
fist fight for the seats. Yeah, definitely. Just
won.
kidding. I'm
You
kidding.
won.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I won. You
All
should see the
right,
other guy. You should see the other guy.
Mangled. So what do you guys think of the real estate markets like right now in this? Where's your head at?
I mean, locally, I guess I'll take it. It's tough. Right now, I don't know.
Don't break stuff.
What am I doing here? The inventory is pretty low and it stays low. I think, and the Toms River, I'll be specific, kind of market. It's just not a lot of listings, kind of, to do business on. But everything is still hot. Like when something comes up and it's priced right, like it instantly goes. We still see like bidding wars. We still see the multiple offer thing. Like even though the interest rates are high, like people still need to buy houses. Like stuff still
Yep.
has to happen. So. Specifically in even call it Ocean County, Monmouth County, whatever, like people are still buying houses. It's, it stays pretty hot because I think inventory is still, it is low and it is low. So, we chug on. It is what it is.
Where do you think the rate's going to end up this year?
Jay?
put me on the hot seat, man. 5 minutes in
We're
already.
going right in.
8.5.
I'm gonna say we're not getting below 7%
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
That's
No.
my prediction.
I agree too.
Just the way that labor numbers, GDP, everything is so strong in this country right now. The Fed has no incentive to lower rates. So, that's really the main driver. Inflation's not going down, so they need to see other data to warrant them lowering rates, and it's just not there. So,
Billy, what's your world look like?
My world's a little bit different than Sal's, so we're busy. We're putting a lot of money out there in marketing.
Let
but-
everybody know what you do, because I don't think that.
Okay, yeah. So we have a real estate investment company. We buy properties, we renovate them, put them back in the market, we develop. We do a private equity funds, we raise capital. So with us, I'm seeing there are less people that are responding to the marketing. So we have to double up on our marketing, but we're not afraid to spend the money. So we had to spend more to get the same amount of phone calls coming in. So we're still averaging 18 to 22 contracts a month, which is pretty good. But to Sal's point, as soon as we get these deals in, we put them on the market, they're gone. Yeah. They're gone for usually over asking. And we price them right, and we're still having bidding wars. That goes for Long Island as well as New Jersey.
And is more of your work on Long Island, or is it more of your work here?
It's kind of split 50-50 at this point. It took me about a year and a half, 2 years in Jersey to get what I had in Long Island. That took me about 10, 15 years.
Wow.
About 12 years in Long Island.
Okay.
So New Jersey, we got involved and it quickly just exploded. I think that had to do because we had our systems in place, we had our people in place, I had everything in place. I just needed to turn the marketing on. As soon as I turned the marketing on, it just lit up.
Yeah, sure.
it had nothing to do with all the New Yorkers coming to Monmouth County, right?
Not at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
There has been a big influx of that. I thought I was the only guy with the New York plates for a while there back when I first moved here, but now I see it more and more every day.
Oh, yeah.
I just think as a real estate podcast as well, that speaks to having a professional in your pocket. I hear a lot of people that say, national data that prices are falling. It's really Texas and Florida, which were overbuilt, so having a local real estate professional to tell you, hey, we have these New York or Long Island people that are moving south. The demand is not going down anytime soon where we live. We're in a metro area, so it's
We're an
something to keep in
anomaly
mind.
from what everything else is going on in the country. Like I have friends nationally, and their inventory is rising, and they can't sell shit. And we have the complete opposite thing happening here on the East Coast, at least in New York and New Jersey. I don't know what it's like in Connecticut and Delaware, but we don't have inventory. And when you get a house that hits the market, these realtors like savages, man, because their buyers are just, they need a property. But they go through a little bit of buyer burnout. Like they lose houses. So like they're not as quick to make the offers now. I've noticed that some of the offers would come in and then they would get cold feet.
Yep.
They still move, but they're like retracting. They're rethinking, Christ, my finance is going to go up. My payment's going to be high. So they make the offer because they missed a couple of houses and then they kind of retract. But it's still hot. It's still a very hot market here locally.
100%, definitely. I agree.
So I mean, I don't see it slowing down though.
I don't.
You know, and I think part of it. I mean, I'm in Monmouth County, and I'm in a unique part of Monmouth County. I'm on the shore. Like, you know, you have Western Monmouth, like, you know, you got Freehold and Morganville and the other towns over there. Like, to me, on the shore, there's no shortage of like people wanting these places.
At all.
And there's, you know, they had that old expression, you know, there's only so much. There's only so many houses built near the water or on the water. Like, and I personally think that's, you know, you drive in Belmar, you know. Go drive in Belmar. There's no recession. There's no slowdown.
A lot of the shore, you know, towns to speak on what you're talking about, like the New York, the North Jersey, like it's just a hub. Like Ocean and Monmouth County, like people just come here. And
Yeah.
like, whether they vacation or second home or, you know, whatever, rent and for the summer, but just around here, specifically in like the Ocean Monmouth County area, like there's no, like you said, there's no slowing down. People are still coming and people are spending money, and it's, you know, we're doing, you know, pretty good around here.
I also think even south, like in Bayville and Beechwood, like those towns are.
Bayville's super hot right now. Yeah.
I'll tell you the one area I did see a slowdown is the 55 and over communities. So we had a lot of inventory in 55 and over 9 months ago. And a year and a half, there was maybe 25, 30 houses on the market. You fast forward a year and there's 122 in the market in the same neighborhood.
Why do you feel that is?
I don't know. I have no idea of why the data is the way the data is, but I know that houses that we priced, we're seeing a 5 and 10% decrease just in the 55 and over certain communities, not all the communities, certain ones in Tom's River. At least that's from my perspective.
They get like overdeveloped in time too. Sometimes if people pick up a bunch, and a lot of people will be, you know, flipping them, renovating them, and then a bunch will go on the market, and that kind of skews it. Like here and
Yeah.
there's like cycles, and that
Could
like,
see
happens
that.
in
But there's a
certain
lot of
communities.
houses, Sal, that they were just regular homeowners that are just putting them on the market to sell that weren't renovated.
Okay.
And I don't know what the hell is causing that at all. It's like they're just up and out. They want to leave all at one time. Everybody wants to move.
Where are they going though? Like that's the next question. Is like
Maryland, who the hell knows, man?
you know, the New Yorkers came down here, but then
You say
like
6 feet under? That's what I was gonna say. It's morbid, but that's what happens.
We think alike.
Yeah, no, that unfortunately is what happens. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, the sick thing is, in 6 months, I could buy one of those houses. I'm going to be 55 in 6 months.
No.
Are you out of your mind? Yeah.
Who's the healthiest one here? Who's the healthiest one here?
Billy.
Billy
Wins.
Well, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
55, huh?
Worked hard on
55
that.
in 6 months. Crazy.
I'm gonna be your neighbor.
Yeah. You'll be right there with it. Yeah. It's insane. Never thought.
So, how's the world of title treating us? Since the boys have been just
Yeah,
on
Linda
these
joined-
mics.
Usually do.
Linda, join us.
No, it's all good. So I'm actually in a very unique position. Kelly Title has only been around for 2 years. Last year was our first full year in the business, and we were actually Fidelity Insurance's top 20 producers
Oh, that's
in the state
awesome.
of New Jersey.
That's fantastic.
Congrats.
We are.
Shout out to Kelly Title
Yeah,
there.
we've been taking a lot of market share. Our company's been flourishing. Every month we've had more and more and more, and I'm very grateful. I think it's because we have a great staff, we have a great product, and we have a lot of experience on our side.
How big is the team?
So right now I have 12 salespeople,
Wow. Okay.
which is awesome. It's awesome, and we're backed by Trident. Trident Abstract does our back end for us. I have 7 very experienced title officers, which makes or breaks a deal. Anybody can do an 8-digit credit score, clean property, but when you're missing 50 feet of property, there's encroachments. That's when you really need skill, and that's what I have. We do get those problems resolved. Everything's resolvable in title. It just takes time, but knowledge is power.
Yep. And where were you before this?
I was at another title company
Okay.
locally.
Yep. All right. Cool.
I've been in the business for 31 years. I've done mortgages and title.
Wow.
And I was also a real estate paralegal, so I do have some good
So
experience.
you have the experience. here.
Yes. So yes, most title issues I've been able to resolve. The new thing is vacant land fraud. We see a lot of that now.
So what does that mean? Vacant land fraud.
So you have people who have vacant land and people being imposters. So they'll say, all right, you have a piece of vacant land. And Jay calls me and says, I'm going to sell 123 Main Street. He's going to give me all a fake ID and pretend he's you. And he's going to get the profit from your property.
Same thing with the house deeds. Same
Yeah.
shit. Brooklyn
And that's,
is big.
yes. So it's very popular right now, and they're mostly there's actually crews overseas. This is a full-time job for them. They go through the counties online, they find vacant land, and they come up with fake IDs, and they're trying to sell property that's not theirs.
So what happens in this kind of scenario?
It depends what kind of title insurance you have.
gonna say
Good
title
question.
insurance.
All right. So let's say you're using.
let's talk about that.
Let's assume you're using Kelly Title today.
So
what
I would
happens?
recommend you get the enhanced policy. There's two policies. It's the standard and the enhanced. And the enhanced actually protects against that. We all see those commercials. Hey, someone stole my property. We all see those commercials. That's what that title does. That protects you. So if someone records fraudulent deed, your title insurance protects you. If you have a standard policy, you have to go to court, hire an attorney to get your property, to get that resolved. It's called quiet title.
That's crazy. That's
And what
crazy
it's
people
actually
doing
considered
that.
wire fraud because what happens is Jay's not going to take a check from me because he's a fraudster and he can't cash it. He's going to give me wire instructions. Once I wire it, it becomes wire fraud and it's not covered by any insurance policies. It's a huge problem in our industry right now.
Yeah.
And we're talking millions every month, people being frauded.
Wow.
And so, I've been actually speaking all over different realtors talking about this because it's very important. It's very easy. I just caught one guy from Canada. His ID looked really good, and he was willing to talk, which is unusual. Usually it's by email or text. And he was trying to sell vacant land in New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And he has a property in Texas, which I tracked him to. That's where all his tax bills goes. But he was the fraudster was from Canada, saying he lived in Canada. Gave us great ID. They go on your LinkedIn page. They go on Facebook. They take your likeness and they put it on ID, and that's what they send in.
Insane.
How we caught him was his tax bills goes to Texas. I had the realtor write a letter saying, "I'm listing your property. Thank you." The real owner called the realtor and said, "I'm not selling my property."
Wow.
And
You don't find a lot of title companies that do what you do. Like, that's a whole nother level. I've been investing 14 years. I've never once had a title company say they're going to do this for me. Ever, not once.
yeah, it's important. It's really
Yeah,
important.
that's a whole
And
nother level you're doing. That's why you've grown as much as you've grown in New Jersey the last 2 years.
experience, sometimes being older is a blessing.
I think I might have you for a couple of months. But you do
You guys
have.
could talk about that at the Four Seasons.
Yes.
That's wow. I can't. Now, what do you think? What do you guys feel like with AI? How's that going to play into? Like AI could replicate who I am real fast, and like, how do you think that's going to play into title in the
It
coming
already
years?
has. You look like you want to say something.
We invest a lot into AI, specifically at Absolute as well. And I've talked to the guys and girls at Coastal Connections about the benefits of AI as well. One of the things that actually just came out recently was the FCC. Now, don't quote me on this. You can look it up, but they banned the use of AI for cold call.
Oh yeah, I sent you that.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did send it to me.
So maybe Sal could help us here too.
No,
There's
no, I know
AI
nothing about it.
email
I
that I
didn't read it.
use. There's AI email text that I use already for it costs standard SMS data rates. But if you're cold calling lists, the FCC has banned that or wants to ban that. So that may be what they're looking at. But I'm not exactly sure.
That's when you take it offshore. You have a whole other company set it for you. I
Dude,
mean, there's always ways.
With AI, it's crazy. Like, you have no idea. Like, if you're talking to that person, you could totally like talk about fraud and duping somebody. Like, you set up something and they can make Tommy like buy Jay's property, and you would never know that he bought it.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
Well, the issue is everything's so public now. That's the problem. Before, you used to have to go to the county and do the research by hand. You had
it's
to look
all
through books.
online.
Everything's online. We've made it so easy. Everybody, we all know this with our social media. You put stuff on your social media all the time. Hey, I just bought a new house. My vacation home that I don't live in. You're just advertising to everybody. You have your picture there. You take your picture off. Jay makes a nice ID with Sal, and now he's selling properties. He's renting your house out for you.
Jay's the fraudster in the scenario all the time.
Well, the fraudster fits.
It's crazy though that that's happening, and it's so easy. Like they're making it
It's
easy.
so easy. It's just, being experienced, asking key questions,
Yep.
asking questions, not assuming. And, part of the problem too is, there's not enough, as everybody said, there's not enough houses there. So all the realtors, everybody wants to sell a property. You don't want to turn anything down.
Yeah.
If something comes up,
But,
people
you know,
are
it's-
like chomping at the
It's
bit.
the old adage,
True.
if it's too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Something doesn't seem right, you need to say something. And that's why I like to work with my realtors and my investors and everybody is, if it doesn't seem right, let me know. Let me see what I can do to help you.
She said one thing about asking questions, and I feel like that's a trait that all five of us have in common. You know, you assume that you're buying a $500,000 asset and that everything's squeaky clean, right? You know, people don't know what title insurance is, and our buddy Chris likes to say this too, until you need it in a time like that, or you find out that, you know, there's a lien from a casino on a house that you just bought and it's not actually yours.
Oh, he told you that one?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great
Told
story.
me that story,
The
too.
grandmother, you know,
No
saw a
shit.
house, casino. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
not yours, it's Joey's now. So yeah. It's one of those things you don't know
Not you.
that you need it or how important it is until you need it.
Yeah.
I always say it's like car insurance. Everybody has it, and you don't appreciate what kind of policy you have until you're in a car accident. They're like, damn, I should have paid the extra.
That's
Because now it doesn't cover it.
It's a good analogy.
Yep.
very true.
You know, I hate to pay my car insurance every month, but, you know, title insurance is a necessity. It's the biggest purchase most people make in their life. And that's why we always push the enhanced policy, not to make more money. It's more coverage. It's more protection.
Yep.
I've been in my own home for 19 years. I want that extra protection.
On a
But
percentage
can I
basis.
ask a question
oh,
on this?
sure.
So in that scenario, the person who bought the house, they're out the money. They have the wire that's out. Who's covered? Them. You're covering them. So you're going to get them the money back because the seller of the owner of the property, he's screwed too. Because
Everybody's
now he's
screwed.
leveraged with a mortgage on the property from a fraudster.
And to throw another scenario in, which usually it's happening in other states, it's just happening in Connecticut and Florida, people that like buy property when they travel. Joe builds a house on the property, or Jay builds a house on the property that they don't own. And the owner comes, and then you as the owner comes back and says, now there's $1 million home on my property.
Right.
Who's paying for this?
Oh, I've seen that on.
Because
Yeah.
it's crazy. So there's a lot of different scenarios. It really depends on what kind of coverage you have. Who knew what? That's what everybody's looking about. Like, did the realtor, did he take good ID from his client? Did he know? Did he have conversations? Did he say something? Is there attorneys involved? So there's a lot of liability. But the enhanced policy does protect you from any fraudulent deed transfers, meaning, because you can actually, probably shouldn't advertise this, but in the state of New Jersey, they don't care what your deed is. They don't care if it's actual signatures. They only care that you pay the right fee and it's in the correct format. So what people are doing is they're lifting notaries, because you can go online, look at deeds. They can lift my notary stamp, put it on a deed that Billy forged, and then he records it. Now Billy owns the property.
Crazy.
And then time that Jay finds out his property is sold, it could be 6 months. And now he sold it and he's going to flip it to Joe. And now Joe's got a property. He builds a house and now he comes back and says, what the hell's going on? And this is happening. It's real stuff.
It sounds like a business model, but not for this group.
But,
Somebody's business model.
but I can say if you're in New Jersey, you can go on your county website. You can register your property and they'll let you know if there's any changes to your property, if a deed's
That's
recorded
a
or
great
lien.
idea. So how do people, that's a great
So
takeaway from this.
just county clerk's office.
Okay.
Public
And
knowledge,
each county has that. You can sign on I do. So if anything happens, any change to my property, I get an email.
That's awesome.
good.
That's,
Piece of
that's
information.
either a lien or a deed, because most title companies file notice of settlement. So before we close, we usually file the notice of settlement. So you can give fair warning to somebody, hey, someone's trying to sell my property that I own. And so that's a great tip for everybody.
That is a good tip. It's
That's
like
great
a credit,
tip.
like a change in credit score thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
You should tell all your clients about that now.
Good idea. Yeah.
I
Thanks, Linda.
have a flyer. I will send
Please,
it to you.
please provide that. With
I
me,
will
too.
provide that to you.
That's wow. That's wild, but it's also, you know, something to keep in mind. But I think that also goes back to not just coastal connections, but working with people that you know and trust. I mean, right? I mean, when that kind of takes some of that out of the equation. If you're working with guys that you know and trust, that this won't happen as often, right?
Yeah, but I think in this business, it's so broad. We're going to be doing so much volume.
Yeah.
That you're going to be dealing with people you don't know all day
100,
long.
yeah.
I mean, that's just part of the business.
Yeah.
If we stuck just with this group, we do a very small amount of
Yeah.
business.
Well, listen, I'm not flipping 20 houses a month, but yes, to some of the people, that's enough business. But into your case, no, it doesn't even.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Pay for all the cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
when
getting
you
a
do
cigar
it,
after this, right?
law of numbers. I mean, when you do so many transactions and over the time, you're bound to, have a rotten apple or a rotten egg here or there,
Yeah, but what I love about this group is we can always bounce stuff off each other and come up with solutions. And whether it's you have a deal that's not my deal or Billy's, if he has a question, we're going to help each other, and that's what makes us all successful.
It's almost like a board of advisors, right? I mean, you have a little board of advisors. You can bounce ideas off each other. Everybody has a little expertise in what they do, and it's a good collaborative group.
Jay, you were most likely to be the fraudster, though. As
I
these
don't know
examples
where
were
that came
happening,
up. I mean,
your
I-
name
I-
came up most for the fraud.
I might have given hypothetical examples at lunch, a few times, but it doesn't mean that I've actually done
The
them.
good thing is Joe was never thrown under the bus.
I'm good. Yeah, let's put Joe on the hot seat.
Forget about Honest Abe. It's Honest Joe.
Don't trust the guy in the suit and tie.
I wasn't sure if I was buying or selling that.
He got best.
It's all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
He won best dressed today. Joe, you haven't said much yet, so
I just been taking in all
Hey,
the tips over here.
taking it all in. So, in your world, what are you seeing out there?
I mean, in insurance world, it comes down to eligibility right now. So not only is there an issue with inventory, then if you get the inventory in Ocean County, Monmouth County, then you look at minimum amounts of homeowners companies that actually write in that area.
On the water.
On the water, yeah. It used to be coastal was just on the water. Then it was hey, you're 2,500 feet, and now it's 5 miles. Now hey, we're not writing in the state. So it's just when you get to that point and you look at the debt to income ratios, that's a huge thing now because when I first got in the insurance industry, an average homeowner's policy is probably $900 a year. I'm seeing the average now over $2,000 a year. So for the average person, they're looking at the budget. It's tough. So you really have to.
It's one more cost in that equation. Like,
Yeah, it's a
so that
few
equation
bucks.
that's
Yeah,
now
it's
it's
not nothing.
where Jay said at the beginning,
Yeah.
we're not going to go below 7 this year. So now you're at a 7% interest rate.
Yep.
On top of that, now a 900 is now a 2,000
Yep.
in your insurance policy. Plus, if they're depending on what kind of qualifications they have, they might need a PMI payment. That starts to add to that
Then
monthly
you have
budget.
flood on top of that, possible
Yeah.
flood insurance, and then but what Jay could do is even look at someone's credit and look at all their overall debt, and yeah, it might be 7.5 interest rate, right? But they're paying 22% on credit cards, and they have all this extra credit, and he can probably move around some money and save them $2,000 a month on overall payments, pay off debt, and even just get higher interest rate. It's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you can afford everything now, but you're wiping out all this extra debt and all this
Yeah,
money.
and cleaning it up.
I mean, some credit cards are around 30%. I mean, if you have some debt there that you can wipe out, they can now afford a house. So that's why like having this team of people that can look at all different areas. You're not just one person. That's what's so valuable, right?
Yeah.
But for me in the insurance area, that's the biggest thing right now. It's just eligibility, find someone with a sound policy, right, with a sound company, because like the limited options. So you really have to have access. And some agents that I know and have different companies, they're getting dropped by these companies to have access with them. So I just inherited a client from a company in Narragansett Bay because they shut off the access to the agent. They're like, hey, like she can get canceled or she has to find another agent, so they gave it to me. I'm like, I mean, thank you, but that's
a great lead source for you.
great lead source. They're happy with me, thank God. But that's a crazy it's a crazy other aspect that people don't think about because they think the insurance is the last thing. When I first got in the industry, I was with realtors and even Sal. We've like, hey, when you get through the process, return your review, let's get some numbers. But now, like, you find a home, you fall in love with it before you even get through attorney review. Let's get numbers because you might not even be able to afford it, right? Because
Wow.
This is on the water.
yeah, I mean, I
A few $1,000
yeah,
sometimes.
oh my God, yeah. One Seaside Park I wrote, it was, I mean, they took $2 million of coverage for the flood, but it's like $6,000 for the flood and about $5-6 grand for the homeowners, which was good. But like they're on the water. I mean, it's just good right now.
That's a big
$1,000
number.
Yeah, $1,000 a month just for insurance. So yeah, it's a different world. But
Again, just speaking to having an experienced team of real estate professionals around you. Sal and I were working with a client of his as well. And to Joe's point, the price of homes skyrocketed. Price of insurances have also skyrocketed. So, when people come in and have these aspirations or, idea of what they can afford in their head, and again, there's not a lot out there. There's almost a gap. You guys can speak to it. Up to 400,000 or 500,000, and a little bit of a gap there to maybe 900,000. But over that, they're paying all cash. First-time home buyers are below 500,000 who need a lot of education, which is why it's so important to talk to your agent and a mortgage guy to get those numbers first. So you know what you can afford.
sorry to cut you off, but something to maybe you can touch on because I made this to the audience is what I've seen a lot is people have a negative connotation of FHA buyers, and I feel like that kicks them out of the market a lot of the time, and they can't afford these houses, and then they're going up against conventional and FHA, and they're like, well, I want to say the conventional, but I've heard, I mean, as your expertise, that FHA, there's a lot of benefits of having the FHA too for the seller. Like, what's something that, I mean, is there like some type of connotation that you can kind of get at for FHA? Like, why is that such? Why do people look at that as a negative?
There's, FHA mortgages have higher debt to income ratio thresholds. The interest rate's usually a little bit lower, but there's a lot of built-in costs, so they're not the cheapest option right off the bat. To your point about a negative connotation, this is both conventional and FHA products. Some people in the area might know that New Jersey now gives down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. That has gotten a very, very negative connotation from the, some younger first-time home buyers that I've used this with. Now it's up to $22,000 you can qualify for. The issue is that it has to be underwritten by my company or the mortgage company and then the state as well. So there's a lot of issues. The state can be delayed sometimes. So, a listing agent or a seller may be a little bit hesitant to meet that closing date or that it's really a valid product. But, there's no difference really between conventional FHA.
Yeah, to your point, I've had many buyers come in with some sort of an assistance program, and as an investor, I know it's going to add 45 to 90 days in some cases to my holding costs because they have to go through multiple layers. So I won't take those types of buyers on. I would take an FHA buyer any day of the week, but I prefer FHA or conventional. But if they get some sort of assistance, to me, it's just like this is going to be a pain in the ass. A lot of red tape, a lot of qualifying, and a lot of waiting.
Again, that's why you want to ask the right questions, get your documentation in order up front. Because if I have all the information and I can underwrite a loan with my company in 14 days, send it to the state to take 10 to 14 days, you're sitting in a decent window.
Yep.
But if your lender's not on his game and asking for documentation at 25 days into the deal, you're going to be delayed.
Yeah,
You can still do those deals quickly. It's just like Jay's saying, you have to be
it's the people
on top of it.
Yeah, it's the
while
people,
you're-
and you just don't know who's bringing you the deal.
No, you never know.
What the qualifications are of the mortgage loan officer. They don't really underwrite. You underwrite your files. You pre-underwrite your files.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
to make sure it's going to work. A lot of these guys and girls don't do it. They
Right.
just do a quick debt to income ratio. Yeah, I think this could work.
Right.
You're pre-underwritten. They're not pre-underwriting anything.
Yeah.
No.
Similar situation Sal and I had, income was not there. We had to pivot. We had to get the lady a line of credit to assist with cash to close on her new purchase. This thing came up 20 days into the transaction. If I wasn't asking the right questions, calling her attorney,
Yep.
it would have never came up that income was null and void.
Yeah, we
And the
wound
deal
up
would've
only
blew up.
delaying like, I don't
Yeah.
know, 5-10 days, and, they were none the wiser. It was a cash transaction instead of a lending transaction, so the seller didn't really care, but we, banged it through.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's, right down to the penny nowadays, to Joe's point. You want to make sure that those numbers line up front.
And what do you think of the first-time home buyers? Are they like, how are they getting into the market? Because
I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
It's
it's a hard,
crazy.
I
It's a
mean,
hard
you're-
market to be
hard
in
market
for the
to
first
be a
timers.
first-time home buyer, right? I mean, you're seeing that, I'm sure.
And just, you know what? You just think about these young kids that are trying to get started. How do they? You have to have two incomes in a household.
Even if you have two
to.
incomes, it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Two incomes with two kids, you're still like
man.
mom and dad have to go out and, help them with the mortgage and qualify for them. It's a hard time for them right now.
Yeah.
I feel like-
Values are through the roof and rates are through the roof.
Yeah, and I feel like we don't, as we're growing up, unless you have parents that are really, take you under your wing and teach you, you're relying on the school and the system to teach you about budgeting and finance and,
No
and
way.
how to manage your money.
Good luck with
It's
that.
not happening. I went to a business school. I learned nothing about running a business and doing my budget. I learned
Yep.
that outside of school. So if you don't have, if it's like for first-time home buyers, you need about, I don't know, at least a year of just like getting your shit together. You know, and that's like, okay, now I have my budget, I have my money saved, then you can kind of game plan with a lender and whoever you need to game plan with to get there. But you're just gonna be like, I'm just gonna go buy a house and you have no idea what's going on, what's coming in, what's going out, how much your credit cards are. It's like,
Yeah.
you gotta look at the full picture, but
Yeah.
you're never taught that in the standard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Great.
It's crazy. I mean, you wait, you want to get your shit together, you got to save money, whatever. You wait a year. Around here specifically, you're paying 10% more next year for a
Yeah,
property in Ocean
that's
County
true.
that you're paying last year.
Yeah.
So you talk about the rates, like, oh, I don't want to jump in, it's too high. Like, okay, that $400,000 house that you didn't want to buy this year is now $440,000 next year. So,
Yeah.
it's just another way to get in is it's good to get in, even though the interest rates are high. You still got to get in, and before the rates go, before the market.
Best
goes
time to
whatever.
buy is now.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on, the best time to buy is now.
Just talk to someone. Get the like. That's the thing. People think they can't afford it, but maybe you can.
Yeah.
Have all this credit card debt, but maybe someone can. This team here could probably get you to figure something out to make you be able to make that move and get that going.
An old podcast guest, I think it was JT Hazlett from Hazlett Realty Group, said one of his mortgage guys said, you date the. You marry the house, you date the rate.
I fucking hate that saying. It is true.
But I mean,
Tommy's still stuck in 2022.
No, it's
I like that. I just like that one.
it's true. It is true.
No, it's true.
So I mean, the idea is that down the road you can refinance.
100%.
If you like the house, get the house.
Yeah.
To that point of just you got to jump in.
Refinance is the only place that I'm aware
Sorry,
of
Sal.
that you can go
No,
back
you're
and
right. You're absolutely
lower your
right. It's
monthly
just-
payment.
Correct.
You can't go back on the contract and lower the sale price of the house.
Yeah.
You're gonna get equity eventually if you stay in the house for 5 years. Let alone appreciation, but around here, it's been 10% since 2020. Over. You're
Yep.
gonna have equity, and the rate will go down. The rate will go down. Whatever, but you can't make the property stop going up in value, especially around here. It's not gonna happen.
So why do you hate that line?
I don't know. It's so overused, just in the real estate community, I guess. I don't
It was
know.
like a Facebook tagline, hashtag.
Yeah.
I heard it once or twice, and I wasn't expecting to get jammed up on that one.
You don't see it as much as I do, obviously, so it's not.
Sorry, JT.
Oh, God.
Sounds like, forget about it, not again. I don't want to hear it.
He was gonna flip the speaker on us. Flip the mic.
Just, I don't know, severely
Overplayed.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Nothing against you.
No, clearly, man. I'm not getting on the pedicycle this summer.
Struck a nerve. No, everybody's getting on the pedicycle this summer.
So tell us about the pedicycle.
I mean, I'm trying for Belmar. I would think it would be so good in Belmar.
It would be.
I
great.
lost Asbury Park. So Asbury Park has passed a resolution, ordinance, whatever, that Asbury Park banned all pedicabs. So rickshaws, those 4-person bikes, anything, the pedicycle, which is a 14-person party bike if anyone's interested. Not plugging it. But yeah, so I lost
Shout it out.
Shout out pedicycle.
It's another episode you can look up on.
Yeah.
If you want to check out an old episode of Grit Won't Quit, check out the pedicycle with Sal.
But I think Belmar would be such a good fit, and I would like something up here, kind of very close to Asbury Park, obviously. I did get Seaside and Toms River and Ortley. I'm trying for Lavalette, and then we have one at Beach Haven too. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good thing.
Fun.
Thank you. Not that it has anything to do with real estate, but
Well, we can do our next meeting on the pedicycle.
I think Coastal
Listen,
Connections.
before
yeah.
Coastal Connection gets too big, you have 14 seats.
Oh, that's right.
You're right there, Jay.
Oh, man.
We should think about that, honestly. Yeah.
Summer.
Yeah.
Jay, that's a great
Honorary
networking
ride?
one.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That's fine.
He had it at a networking event recently, which was pretty cool to see it there.
I was just going to say, Sal was trailering it around Ocean County to
I was.
Wawa's.
You might have seen it.
It was the best billboard he could have done.
Yeah. Shout out to K-Shev's event, right, on
K-Shev's
Tuesday. That's where
event,
we went.
yeah.
Seaside Social House. Shout
Shout
out to
Seaside Social House. They were
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That
Great
food was
spot.
on point.
Yeah, it was.
My wife wants to go
I
back.
would-
We're going to go back for dinner.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would stick
Shout out to
with
Rob. He was
Yep.
a great
Rob's
host.
Yeah, man. That was great.
So as we wrap up today, let's get some final thoughts, of what we think. Predictions for the year. We're going to see.
Progress. I mean, in real estate so much, it's spring into summer, again, another cliche, but the summer. Sorry, Tom. The summer normally kicks up. If you think about families, getting in, making offers or whatever, buying houses in the summer so their kids can then go to school in the fall. It's just kind of the normal yearly transition. But in this area specifically, Ocean Monmouth County, again, the demand is there, and it will only get more, especially higher in the summer. I mean, around here specifically. So I'm very looking forward to it.
Optimistic.
Right. Optimistic. Thank you.
I think final thoughts: just get with a team that can get you in. That's it. Just
I think
start
that's a
moving.
great final thought, and I think you brought some great knowledge to the table, kind of the budgeting and from the first time buyer, you got to start thinking about getting it together. You don't just show up at Sal's office and go, all right, I want to buy a house. For most people, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I hope as one I think there's been a couple takeaways today that have been great, but one takeaway is if you're a first-time buyer, you're thinking about getting into it, one, you got to start to plan, and that plan gets executed, and then you start sitting down with a lender, and you start finding out where there's deficiencies, right?
Yeah, and if it's like, oh, I'm not going to buy for 2 years, start meeting with your team now and planning for that.
It's not gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt. You just put yourself in the position when maybe you find something and you're in the position, you can pull the trigger. And, and then if you see something you fall in love with and you're not in the position to, then you're like, oh shit, now I'm going to wait another 2 years or whatever.
Totally.
10%, 20%, you're just going down the rabbit hole.
If you're renting right now and you don't think you could buy, you should look to buy, because it's probably harder to rent right now than it is to buy.
So
Renting
much.
is crazy right now. The values and everything, the monthly rentals is wild.
Yeah.
So,
Rent goes up, your mortgage payment doesn't.
there you go. That's another
I also think too, like rent, there's no equity. Like there's never
no
equity.
taxes,
Like
no taxes.
if you rent for 2 years, like that's 2 years that just there's nothing there at the end, right? Whereas in your world, you have 2 years of equity, and again, you might refinance down the road, but you also have 2 years of equity in, and there's a taxable benefit.
Absolutely. And to Joe's point as well, you may have a couple credit cards at 30% and look at a 7 or 8% interest rate as really bad. But when I show you what the blended rate is, that maybe it's 10 or 12% and how much you save per month,
That's great.
that'll open your eyes.
It is funny how
definitely.
everyone's just like, oh my God, 8%, but then they have no problems with 15, 20, 25% credit cards.
Yeah.
Because it's just you used to. I feel like you just used to
it, I
you
guess,
used- like
yeah.
everybody was like, oh, 4% and 3%. I think.
Or
then
we're
now it's
spoiled
like,
with
yeah.
the 3%, right?
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Yeah.
Those days.
I mean, that was a crazy time
those
too.
days
that-
are likely dead, but yeah.
We're not going to see that ever again.
No, I don't think so either.
So I think people have to start to think that 7 is the new norm.
I think if we can get to a
6.
standard 5,
Yeah.
5.5, that would be a huge step in the right direction.
That's where it should
I
be.
think
There's
that's-
no reason that you should get a loan for 2.5% for a house. Like, it doesn't
That's
exist.
why we're in the position we're in
Yeah,
now with
yeah.
inflation. So, yeah.
Any last thoughts? I love that advice you gave earlier. I'm going to actually sign up today for that at my own home, because that I would hate to see something crazy like that happen.
You never know, Everybody says, well, it's not going to happen to me, just like a
Right.
car accident, but it does.
Until it
These
happens.
things happen.
Let me just ask on a personal note, and not for our guests, but I have a commercial property. Can I sign up for that? For my
Any
commercial?
property you own.
Perfect. Great.
Yes, absolutely.
Billy, hit us with something.
Billy, hit us
Look,
with some knowledge.
I think
64 ounces.
yeah. Look, if you're in the market, if you're gonna buy now. If you're gonna invest now. If you're gonna sell now. Like right now is always the best time. Don't wait. You want to do anything, do it now. Don't procrastinate. That's all I'm gonna leave my thoughts right there. That's it, boys and ladies.
And girls.
Can I give one more too?
You got one more?
You know you want to.
You got to
I
finish
just
off.
want to thank these guys and Chris Lynch, because this is the epitome of what we are trying to make Coastal Connections in. Educating our business partners, being friends with our business partners, and giving good advice. That's what we want to do at the end of the day. So thank you to this team and Coastal Connections.
Thanks,
Tom at Wingman, of course.
Yeah. Tommy.
Thanks for coming in today, guys. This was
Yeah, this
great.
was
I
fun.
really do appreciate it, and I think you guys have a wealth of information, and I think it's going to be a great podcast for our listeners.